Close brace. For JavaScript developers, by JavaScript developers. Let's talk about form validation. Since the earliest days of the web, people have been creating forms with which to gather data from users, and users have been putting data into those forms that's incomplete, malformed, or otherwise not what the original developer was looking for. Form validation is an attempt to prevent, or at least mitigate, this problem. By ensuring that a user's data is as close as possible to what's expected, we can reduce the amount of junk data in our DB, which is valuable for a variety of reasons. When most people hear the term form validation, they tend to think about front-end validation, and that's where we'll be focusing for the majority of this tutorial. But validation on the back end is also important. For example, experienced developers who have been following this tutorial series have probably picked up on a potentially catastrophic problem with our registration API. Right now, there's no check for duplicate emails, which is a very bad thing. Passport only checks usernames. Putting in this check is a type of form validation, and we're going to add it, along with front-end stuff like, does this email address at least look like a valid email address, and did the user remember to enter their password? Let's get started. We're going to use a third-party module for front-end validation that's built specifically to work with React.js. It's called a Validity React.js validation, and we install it by heading for a terminal window or command prompt, switching to our music list directory, and typing the following. With that done, switch back to Sublime, or your editor of choice, and open up /source/components/account/loginpage.jsx. We'll start with the simpler of our two forms. The first thing we need to do is adjust our imports, so change line 2 to the following two lines. The various AV-based components are wrappers for React.js components that allow for validation, so we no longer need to import the React.js components. The Validity components do that for us, except for button and label because those aren't changing. Next up, head for line 39, find your compile form data method, and replace the whole thing with the following. This is the same function, just renamed, and I added a comment for clarity. This also means we need to delete line 10, which binds our now non-existent compile form data function. So nuke that line, and then under line 12, add the following. Now head down to our render block, and change lines 50 and 51 from form group to the following. That AV form line is especially important because by including our handle valid submit function, we tell it what to do when the validated form is submitted. Lines 53 to 61 make up our email input. We need to make a few changes here, including switching to AV input, adding a required attribute, and organizing our attributes alphabetically. Here's the entire code block. Super useful pro tip that I wish I'd known about years earlier than I did. You can sort any lines alphabetically in Sublime by highlighting them and then just hitting F5 on OS X or F9 on Windows. This is crazy useful when working in CSS or when refactoring code in general. Now below line 62, which closes our input, add the following. And then just make sure to change the /form group below that to /AV group. Now we need to repeat the process for our password input. Here's all of the code. Then change line 79, our button line, to the following. We don't need the onClick anymore because AV form will fire this .handleValidSubmit automatically. Last thing we need to do is change line 80 to /AV form. That's it for this file. Save it, and let's head over to /source/components/account/registerpage.jsx. We're doing basically the same set of changes here, just more of them. So change line 2 to the following two lines. Then delete the compile form data method on lines 24 to 29. And below the end of the handle keypress method on line 35, add the following. Then go back up, delete line 10, our binding for compile form data. And below what is now line 11, add the following. Now onto our render block. I'm not going to talk you through changing each field. My suggestion is to try to do them all yourself based on what you learned from changing loginpage.jsx. And then watch the rest of the video where I will go through quickly and without explanation and just change each field. Here we go. So as you can see, back up at the top, I added a little bit of text about fields being required. And then in the password input, I added a minimum length of 8 characters. You can adjust that as you see fit. All set? We're good to go here, so save the file and head for a browser. Let's go ahead and do a refresh. Those errors make me nervous. Now we can see if our validation is working. Make sure you're logged out and then head first for our login page. Try submitting the form blank. Aha! No dice, which is what we want. You can also try with an invalid email address. Still won't work. We don't really check the minimum length of passwords here because we check when the user registers. Now if we log in with correct credentials, there we go. Log out again, and head for your register page. Same deal here. You can test your front-end validation in a variety of ways, and it should all work. Just as an example, submitting a blank form. We haven't fixed the back-end problem with duplicate email addresses yet though, so be careful there. That's it for simple front-end validation. In the next tutorial, we'll fix the issue I just mentioned, and also do a little more cleanup when it comes to error reporting. See you there.